Okay, all right, guys. So, our question from today is a continuation of um, Delaney's question, and she made it a bit clear for us. So, let me give you a quick recap. She just bought a house, she feels comfortable bringing her daughter, and her daughter is trying to get clean. And so, let's listen to what she has to say.
Okay, I wanted to share something about my daughter. I'm pretty sure I told you she was a heroin addict. Um, but okay, so when I first came here, when I came here for my interview, I sat down and I had when I made my decision to move here. Um, I had a really long discussion with a friend of mine, Brian, like one of my oldest friends, who's like really good at helping to make objective decisions, or helping, coming from an objective place to help make objective decisions, help me. And so he was awesome, and we talked through a lot of things. And one of the main deciding factors of me coming here was I knew, like, I knew, like in my heart, that this was the place for my daughter. This was the best place for me to be, for my daughter to get clean. And there was a part of me that just kind of like knew that if I moved here, I would be setting her up for success. And I didn't know, like I've been, since I came here, my plan was to kind of create a space where she could come here with me and get clean and stay clean. And but I never, it's like one of the only things that I completely was able to give over to the universe, and just put the intention in there, out there. So I need to listen. I need to pay attention to how I did that for other things. But, and like literally, my, my daughter texted me. I moved into this house, and a week later, my daughter, and there's 5 bedrooms. So there's Leo and his son, Carl, who is 15. There's Jocelyn, there's my daughter, and there's me. So there's a bedroom for my daughter. It's specifically set up for her. This is the first time in her 29 years of life that I have ever been able to give her a home base to come home to. I've never been able to do this before. And yeah, sorry, this is really long. Um, so all of this, like, I put the intention out there, and I just knew it was right, and I knew it would all come together. There's something about my daughter that I have I don't know what it is. Like I have I guess more of a trust in the universe about it. I don't know why, because she's the most precious thing to me. You think I would be most untrustworthy, I guess, but like just, like she and I argued over her name when she was in my womb, and I didn't understand that at the time, like what was going on, but I gave her the name that she wanted. She got Victoria because the name is one who is victorious. And she needed the power of that name to be able to overcome this. And she now, like the last time I talked with her, she is expressing and exhibiting signs of really being ready to be clean like I've never seen before. She lost her fiance a few years ago. She's lost all of her friends in Ohio. She had an injury over the winter where she has a prosthetic mouthpiece, like in her palate, in her lower palate, from smoking the age. And she's coming here. She doesn't really have any choice anymore because she needs health insurance Washington State has incredible state health insurance, and Ohio doesn't, and I can't put her on mine. She's too old. And so she's like lost everything, and so like this was like she's, you know, she didn't really have much else, and so I finally was able to convince her to come out here, and she's moving in with me to get clean. My thinking about her moving forward is get her clean, either get her on meds. She needs to be on psychological meds so she can manage her emotions. That's the reason she's gotten clean numerous times. She's never been able to stay clean. And then you know, she's going to need to be here to do some of the work, some of the emotional work. So I expect her to be here for I don't know, like probably a year at least. To help her get through, you know, and then my goal is to either get her into school and or get her into, you know, she would be great working at one of the pot shops. So I want to get her into that and maybe get her into school, and then I can kind of like let her go. But we have spent a lot of time apart, and she has lost everything and everyone, and she is really wanting to be with me and wanting to have that security. So at some point, I don't, you know, I stayed with my mother for the first 3 years of her life, and we were done at the end, and it was about a year too long. I should have left earlier. And I definitely don't want to do that with my daughter. So I want to be here as she needs me, and then kind of like slowly give her like slowly tether her as she like, you know, kind of starts to get back to her own life again. That's what I feel like is needed for her. I think I will look into renting a car. I think I looked into that at one point when I did a trip from Ohio to here, and it was way more expensive than I thought. But I probably should, like, you know, do a bunch of comparison things. And so I'll start looking into that a little bit more. And wow, the gas prices are going to go up to $10. That's insane. Yeah, hybrid was the other thing I was considering. So like maybe I should be leaning towards the hybrid there. Okay, thank you. I need a break, Marinike. I really need a break. I realized that what I did this year was, you know, I told you I was, you know, costed about a year and a half, a little bit more than that, maybe a year and 9 months from now. Anyway, and it really like threw me into like a really bad depression, and then like that was kind of like where I was at when I met you. And I have this pattern of um, creating more work for myself than is to like unconsciously. I'm realizing I have this pattern of creating a lot more work for myself unconsciously, so that I can just kind of like pour myself into my work. And it's like, it's, you know, I'm doing it for, you know, it's for like, you know, a higher purpose, and so therefore it's, you know, this is more important than everything else, and then I can kind of like ignore all the things in my life that are crazy. And so that's what I did. I had the pandemic, which automatically, you know, probably like multiplied my workload by like, you know, 5 or 6 times. Just in by the nature of it. And then I, you know, like I had that along with my, you know, I'm going to make sure that my students are going to learn through this experience kind of a thing. And I had every reason to just kind of like work myself to death, but I did that so that I didn't have to deal with the
deal with the emotions, I guess, of so I haven't felt safe since that happened. I realize now, and somebody recently pointed out that I am displaying a lot of PTSD symptoms, which is how I started realizing all of this. Anyway, I really I'm like at this point where like everything, every time, teeny little thing, just like I just fall apart, or I get angry. And I know I really need to get away, and I really need a break, and I don't really know how to make that happen right now. And I'm like an emotional wreck. I feel like I'm on my period 24/7, but I'm not. Anyway, yeah, I'm just gonna thank you for your message, because I was crying earlier, and that's why I was telling you all this. But now I'm crying again. Anyway, yeah, I'm going through it right now, and I'm feeling like I don't really know what to do. All right, thank you. Looking forward to the link. Okay.
Okay. Let's just take a deep breath. I really want to give you a hug right now, and it's really hard to do that over the phone or via camera. So what I'd like to do, if it's okay, I would like to pray with you and for you. Okay, so Heavenly Father, I thank you for your hand in my sister's life. I thank you for your promise that says you are closer to the brokenhearted. I thank you for your word that says that the meek shall inherit the earth, that we are the salt of the earth. And we thank you for all of your protection and for that, knowing that at the very end that we will win. Father, as Delaney is going on this journey, I just ask that you continue to keep showing her signs, miracles, and wonders, that she will continue to know how good you are, that she won't just taste, but she will love everything about this journey with you, and that she will see why everything happened the reason that it did, and that she will begin to fulfill her destiny and purpose as you are continuing to call her through this. Father, we ask for your hand of protection, your hand of wisdom, that you will continue to impart this upon her, and your hand of protection, that she will know that she can always come to you at any time, and she will, in fact, be protected. Father, we ask that you impart and you just dispatch your legion of angels, and that you send back anybody that has plans, and you continue to confuse them, any plans of the enemy to distract her, derail her, or confuse her in her life. In this time that is very dark for her right now, I ask that you continue to bring her peace. I ask that you for your lullabies of your psalms and your words and your promises, that they will provide comfort to her. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, well, thank you so much for being so brave and sharing your story in this situation. And I want to definitely congratulate you first, that you made a serious life choice that's going to impact you and another person. So the emotional value of purchasing a home is big. And now, again, you shared that this is the first time you are able to really provide for your daughter. So your role as parent, you really feel very strongly about wanting to help your daughter. So you also made this choice to move when you had this long discussion. You felt that this was important. So I also want to congratulate you again on, really listening to what is being imparted in your spirit, that your spirit man has said, okay, no, this is a space for my daughter. that this space now is set up for her. So here you have somebody that you are partnering in sharing a home and home payments with, and they have 3 spaces and you have 2. So there's enough space for your daughter. The first thing I really want to address is that you have your ambitions and she has her ambitions. So your ambitions versus her ambitions. You mentioned that you wanted to help her get into school and to get a job, and then you wanted to have her on medication. And then your needs versus her needs. So the first thing I want to really address is the addiction. So having just recently gone through deliverance myself and really studying to help, set other captives free, I do know that most forms of addiction, infirmity, perversion, lust, lying, all of these are demons. So I would recommend going online to isaiahsalvador.com. He is amazing. He is a traveling pastor. You can find him on YouTube, and he has hundreds of hours of free content. And going through a deliverance, which is completely free. So really releasing your daughter and yourself of anything that is an impure spirit might be a good start. He mentions a lot of times that we're medicating what could be removed. We're medicating what could be removed, what are demons. This is important as we consider all forms of medication, alternative therapy, talk therapy. It's important for us to really sit down and examine everything, the totality of the situation, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially. So it's important that you go through this as you're thinking about other parts and impartations of your life, and things that you personally must deal with yourself is so important. Now, we can't just, it's really important for me to empower you with all of the choices that you have chosen to make, and also knowing that we must be good parents, and good parents really are prepared for uncomfortable situations and discussions, but they're open. They're prepared for anything that could come up. And this also means, God forbid, a time or a craving for relapse. So this time or craving of relapse is something that it can be a bit concerning if you don't have a plan, and if right now a mental state is a bit much, maybe adding on, something very intense like detoxification, like going through all of the 12 steps. I think, I was gonna say, I think there's 12 steps. Yes, there's 12 steps of sobriety, and the desire and sometimes the emotional triggers that come up with handling this. So while we're on this discussion of taking care of yourself and you exhibiting PTSD symptoms, I just give a huge virtual hug, and will continue to pray for you, because having been through symptoms where I had PTSD myself from another situation, it's really a painful place when things are really triggered and you don't really know what to do or how to handle some of the emotions, or somebody looks at you and it reminds you of situation, or you can't sleep, or you're lashing out in anger, and people just don't understand. What I found very useful for me was group therapy. Now, my situation was a sexual assault, and it really helped me to be in a group of people. But with this, I knew that I needed to have my own space. I was in my own apartment, and I could go through the crying stages, I could go through the anger stages, I could go through every stage of grieving to heal, you know, a lot of the symptoms of PTSD. Now, what actually calmed it down was one, knowing I was not an island. That was one of the biggest things that was huge for me, was to find a group of people, and then having personal therapy time. So I would recommend maybe seeking something out via BetterHelp. This is BetterHelp. And this is a personal certified counselor who will be able to help you, who will be able to meet with you at the times once a week. And it's completely on your phone, completely in private. And you can go through a lot of your like debriefing and healing stages all together. So for that, this is just the biggest hug, definitely. And so let's get down to the list of questions that I recommend, so that when we're looking at your ambitions versus your daughter's ambitions and your needs versus your daughter's needs, if you really want to help her, you can both, you know, for an extended period of time. You mentioned that you are kind of anticipating for her to be in the house, in your home, for at least 1 year. So when we're talking about your ambitions versus hers, you want a lot of things for her. You want for her to go to school. You want for her to maybe find a good job at a pot shop, and then you can rest. She may have different ambitions. You mentioned that for 3 years, the first 3 years of her life, you stayed with your mom, and that was about it. Only you know what that means, that maybe you had enough, or setting a certain timeline would help her, and having these questions that I'm about to give you up front, so you're both very clear about this. Also, you know, who goes with her to her appointments? Is there an expectation for, you mentioned it's going to be a year. So what about some of the needs that you would have? And also think about some of the costs. We did have a previous video about how is she going to come down, what is the best way for you to get her to come out, and this is important. But you know, this is also not just looking at the cost financially, we're talking about cost emotionally. So with this portion of healing, is really important that you are able to handle your needs first, and then everything else can come up. So I have made a list of 12 questions that will help you and your daughter, so you can have an open, honest discussion about everything. Yes, okay, it's gonna be quite vulnerable. Yes, it's going to be emotional. And it's important for both of you to be on the same page, so you can know, one, about the timelines, one, about what each other wants. So let's get started. Number one is, this is something that you will both need to ask. One person asks, the other person answers, and then the other person shares their idea of it. So I would ask you, number one, what does getting clean look like for you? So you would answer, this is what getting clean looks like. I'm not really interested in drugs. Getting clean means Seattle's kind of crazy with that area, with things being like just way too available. So it would mean to me that you have no desire to be around any of those people or anything. You are literally repelled by the idea of, you know, this just being so rampant in the street. Number two, what types of activities would you like to do while you're healing? So you can share, okay, like your daughter shares her idea, and then you share your idea of what activities. This keeps her busy. It keeps you busy as well, because you're both in a place of healing. If you genuinely feel in your heart of heart, in your soul, that this is a time for you to adopt your daughter as well into your life again and say, look, I have a house, there's people who have a family, and I'm going through something, I need my daughter. It's really also important to know that you're going to play both sides. You're going to play someone who is healing right now from something really, really impactful, really traumatic. And then you're also needing to be there for your daughter who's also going through something quite impactful and quite traumatic. So I want you to think about these things before you start moving everything around, okay? Number 3, what goals do you have in your life? And this could just be immediate. Right now, my goal is just, I want to find my own place, and I just want to get clean. You would share the same thing, and it does not necessarily have to relate to her. Number 4, what 2 things have you always dreamed about doing? This will help us answer number 4 to make sure that we have something much bigger than the situation that is at hand, which is, I need healing right now, and I don't know how I'm going to go about it, but it's just important for me to get that healing and be okay. It helps create a bigger vision so you're not losing track of the situation right now. You're seeing the forest as opposed to the trees. Number 5, is there anything that you are worried about during your time with me? This is really good. Number 6, what is something that you wish I would resolve with you that you felt hasn't been resolved? So this is good. So before you even get together in the same space, you actually can start clean. You can start anew. I like this question a lot. Number 7, what is something that I do that drives you insane? When we're coming into a space of healing, we have to know, listen, when I tell you this problem and you don't respond appropriately, it really makes me insane. So coming into it, if you're handling a very heavy emotional load, this is important for you to really understand this about each other. Number 8, what rules would you like for us to have for one another? Again, coming into this, establishing certain ground rules is so important. I want you to always talk to me. Even if you're saying, look, I don't want to talk, at least you're having a communication or a dialogue with me. I want you to always make sure that you're actually at home every single night. This is something that the both of you can really send her these questions, and you really look at these questions, answer them, and think about them, a lot before you meet each other. Number 9, is there an emotional need that you have that I would be able to help you with? So I know, for example, going through some of the situations that I had, I definitely wish I had parents when I was going through my really hard time. When I was living with my family, it felt like I was actually just more alone than when I was actually alone and I had tons of people supporting me. I had a lot of really good friends and a great support system. When I was as opposed to me telling my family what I had been through and nobody driving me to my appointments, and then sitting for the counselor and then watching the family members go in together and mothers being really supportive, and my mom was just kind of like, oh, I thought you were pregnant. Thank God. I mean, it hurt. So knowing emotionally, listen, when I come back from my appointment, I'm just gonna need it to be a really calm house. It's an emotional need. Or when I come home, I'm really gonna need a hug from you. Before I go to bed, I really just need you to give me a kiss and just tell me how your day was, even if it was awful. So I don't want to put thoughts in your head, but it's important for us to kind of elaborate some of the things that you're going to need to consider when having this discussion. Number 10, this is a really important one. I feel like maybe I should have put this as number 1, but as you continue to start peeling open and sharing more things with one another, This is something if you feel is appropriate for you to share in a space that you're going to live together, it's important to discuss. Is there a secret situation that you're going through that I need to know about? This may be really hard, but you might be shocked about what she's going through, and she may be shocked about what you're going through. A lot of times, addiction is it's not personal. It's a sickness or a demon. And people don't really think about you as a person, just more of like resources. Okay, I have a house, I have a place to go, and I have my mom. But knowing that, oh my gosh, my mom's going through something herself, that can really kind of like put a little bit more weight on personal responsibility of like really wanting this deeply. Number 11, how do you need me to communicate with you? So this is big, right? If you establish, listen, I don't need you slamming doors and yelling, that's just not going to work for me, then that's important. I need you to communicate with me calmly. I need you to come in and just say, again, I'm not communicating, but just having this conversation, this dialogue, and what it is that, how you feel like you need to be communicated with. I need you to communicate with me when I'm upset by writing a note, and let's have a notebook. And I can tell you some of the things that upset me this week, and you can write, when I give it to you, then you can write the same thing back, and something that surprised you. I need you to communicate with me, not through text message. I need you to look me in the face and us to have this conversation. So number 12 is there anything else you need to tell me? This is really important because maybe there's a bunch of stuff that I personally have not thought about in these questions that is going to be more specific or relative to some of the important questions and this conversation that you're going to have with your daughter. For example, look, I don't know how long you plan to be here. I don't want to feel like I'm used. I don't want to feel like I'm a revolving door. Whatever it is that you need to share with her, it's just really important that you establish that. So when we're coming down to establishing your needs, again, the question about, what kinds of plans do you have, it's really going to help you in what it is that your wants. I know that sometimes just getting through the day is just enough. I mean, if you had told me back in this time, when I was going through hell and back, that, look, what is your goal for the next year? I would not have known, because I was just trying to shake off every demon that I had inside of me, and like that was, like thrown onto me, and I would not have known what I wanted. So give your space some time. Give yourself some time so you can really kind of consider some of the things that you're going to need. But I remember you mentioned something about something very powerful that you were planning to do. So if this dream of yours is very future focused, if it's technologically based, and this is a goal or dream, it's sometimes really good to spend some time dabbling, even if it's once a month. If you need to go to a meetup once a month, so you can learn about how other people in the tech industry are doing certain things. If you need to go to school for something like this, it's also important for you to maybe make sure that you have that aspect planned out. So one thing I haven't touched on yet is the support system. I mentioned when I was really going through it, I was living in Phoenix, Arizona, and I always kept thinking about how Phoenix rose up from the ashes and just kind of emerged as a brand new, incredible, she burned herself. And then when everybody thought she was done, she just submerged from the ashes. And it's just such a powerful idea. And when I think about that, a lot of the things that help me emerge from the ashes is my support group. So what kinds of things, the activities that you're also listening to your daughter heal, they can honestly overlap, and you can also have things in your own life that's going to help you heal as well. So make sure that in addition to this, you have good people around you that will encourage you, people that are just nice to not talk about anything with. And I found directing or being in the vagina monologues, acting in them for the first 2 years and then directing it was a huge support group. Some random people that I had met in my group therapy, some neighbors, a few gay friends that I'd met just walking at the time when I was living in the world in the gay district. Well, it was like Uptown Phoenix, Central and Camelback. And so on the other side was Melrose. So I just met the sweetest people, and I would always have them in dinner. And people that I went to law school with who helped me when things were really bad. Like, you know, somebody helped me pay my rent one month. One person gave me her car while I was looking for a job while she went back home to Utah. So making sure that the people that you have, you want to make sure that you're recognizing them for the value that they're bringing into your life, because people are season, reason, or lifetime people. And even for that season or for that reason or for this moment in your life, even if it's for the time of it, the duration, it's still really important for you to have that and for her to have that. And again, these are healthy relationships. So establishing these boundaries, not like, well, you're not doing this. Again, I keep referring to the book, Start Finishing. And boundaries, healthy boundaries help allow for things to happen, and negative boundaries avoid or stop things from happening. So a healthy boundary within this is, listen, I'm happy to help you out, but from this hour to this hour, I'm teaching, and from these hours, I have to go to therapy, and I need to go bowling, or I need to go for a run, or these are things that I need that allow for me to heal. And then every other day, every hour after that, I'm all yours. I can help drive you to appointments or whatever you need to do. Keeping a boundary about your home. Again, I shared that for me, everyone is different. Living alone was one of the best things because I could have my friends over, and when I just 5 minutes, hey, I'm at the store, who wants to come over in 2 hours? I'm gonna cook dinner. I can have that experience. So making sure that you keep this boundary, what happens within the house, what happens within the relationship, how much you're willing to worry yourself, because you're still healing yourself. So these are establishing your needs. If it's consistency, establish what it is that you need to be consistent about. Number 2, what it is that you need to worry about, or maybe, how much you're willing to worry about her or not. Like this, my need is not to worry about you if you really are where you say you are. How is that going to work? And maybe number 3 is sitting down once a month to work through older issues. Now, this may not just happen. I mean, she's 29 years, so it's probably not going to happen in this one conversation. And if it does, I'm like really happy. But sometimes other things start coming up that you didn't recognize that. The next thing is maybe keeping a boundary around some of the types of healing that you are going to. Now, some energy work is okay, but I have recently renounced that. I only work through anything that is in the name of Jesus. So any energy work or anything like that sometimes is another open portal or a gateway for demons to come in and access, you. And we don't really want that. We're in this space of just kind of like walking into your second bloom. So thank you so much for all of this. I hope this has, this is something that you will maybe need to play over 3, 4, 5 times just so you can really make sure that you're taking enough notes and how it is that you're going to kind of integrate this into your life. All right, so the first thing again is I recommended the deliverance map. So you could go ahead and just make sure whatever demons are controlling you and like, you know, you and your daughter, everyone can do deliverance, is to do that. The next is finding some sort of group therapy for yourself for the PTSD and personal therapy. So I recommended BetterHelp. And then kind of going through how this is going to work and the cost. How much emotional need are you willing to pour into her at the beginning? Make this like, I can only give you 60% of what I've got and I'll give 40 to me, or I can only give 60% to me, or that. Other than that, if you do feel like, listen, right now I'm only supposed to go through my own healing, it may not be a bad idea to have her kind of established in a different space outside of you, but still where you are close by to access her. So if you do feel like, okay, a lot of the stuff that when I am coming home, it's not as warm or as lovey-dovey as I had planned. It's a lot of stress. It's a lot of emotional work. No one's faulting you. You are an incredible woman who's going through what you need to go through right now, and you're healing the best way you know how, and you're also being there for your daughter the best way you know how. So for this, if you need to have that space for yourself, you know, I don't want to tell you how to try not to feel, but guilt may not be the answer. I'm not saying that you're necessarily taking this on in a space of guilt. I'm sharing that this is an important space for you to be able to heal comfortably, and to also allow your daughter the space that she needs. So if you're establishing those boundaries, one thing that comes to my mind is spiritually, you know, that drug is it's taking over a lot of people's lives, especially in that area. So I know at the very beginning, this desire is, you just want to see how clear this would be. I definitely recommend having all of the questions in maybe a controlled environment. So maybe where you're with, like, I don't know, on a couch in a coffee shop or somewhere private that you're open to discuss it. I also recognize how important your home is to you, and like to be able to provide for your daughter in that way. So again, I just congratulate you. I just wish you nothing but the best. And as always, I'm always right here when you need me. And I look forward to hearing some of your success stories and testimonies very soon. You have a blessed day. See you. Bye.